Thank you guys for being here. It's so exciting to be with unicorns. I always say I don't believe in fairy tales, but I believe in unicorns. So here we are. So thank you very much, Alex. So, TNG is revolutionizing money transfer services and promoting financial inclusion for like over 1.2 billion people in Asia. So that's pretty awesome. Blake, so, Lalamove. We could call it Uber for logistics, but that would be definitely too simple. So it's the biggest same-day delivery app in Southeast Asia. So well done. And then we have, of course, WeLab, that is one of the biggest in Greater China mobile lending platform that analyzes unstructured data to provide in seconds credit for individual borrowers.
In terms of AI, in terms of how we use technology and data, it just allows you to do things in a more efficient, more effective sort of way, in addition to supplement traditional data. We always say that AI is there to help, not to replace. The old way of doing things can still remain, but what we're trying to do is to enhance that process with more information that's out there. And the information is there, everyone has it, people just don't know how to use it. I can give you flour, eggs, water, yeast, all the relevant things to make cake. I can have the same data as well, the same flour, eggs, water, etc., etc. You may make a better cake than I do because you know the secret formula in terms of the right mix, the right time, the right texture. That's the secret information that we have in terms of how we process the data and make use of it to make very intelligent decisions. At the end of the day, we may make a better cake for you, you may make a better cake. But I think all the ingredients are there. It's about, do you know how to put everything together? And I think that's how we use technology and the brilliance of machine learning from AI to make our business more efficient and be able to process loans in a matter of seconds. And for that, we're able to scale a business very quickly. So as our group right now, we have 35 million customers. And we get approximately a new customer every 2.9 seconds. Simply because we're able to process, we're able to collect everything very quickly.
What about you, Alex? How technology has been able really to help you to launch your business and to scale?
Everything. Thanks to smartphone, our users can now access to their money everywhere, not just in Hong Kong, but one click they can send the money home to their families. If you look at the unbanked populations, their culture is unlike us. They send money. After we introduce our service, we change their behavior and pattern once more. They now, in average, remit or transfer money to their family members every other day. Before, they have to send once a week. Why is it once a week? Because if they send the money all in one go, the family members can spend it all. Most of this, maybe their husband or can't be trusted. So, and after we have done that, we solve another pain. The pain of, even if they manage to send their money easily and frequently to the hands of their family members don't use the money to pay for the school fees, for the loan, for the insurance, and for many other things. So we introduce global bill payment services to help them to pay the bill directly, and we solve another problem. Then we observe they have another problem is they change their mind all the time. Yeah, after they send the money, and if they quarrel with their family members, we allow them to cancel the transaction. We allow them to change the name of that transaction. All this you may sound very funny to you, but it's very, very much to their heart. And you have to find the niche market and go deep and understand and really solve their problem. Not just provide the basic financial services, make your money and that's it. You have to understand their pain and solve their pain.
Definitely. And so we are here in Hong Kong, showcasing the whole week about, this startup ecosystem, about how to make an impact. And we definitely see how it has grown over the past few years. And we have reached a point, with a few, great unicorns, with an ecosystem that is developing. And you guys, as leader into this ecosystem, you are also here, to give back and to push this ecosystem to its next level. So this comes into like different ways. So can you share about, you know, your initiatives of how you're actually making an impact, how you give your time to the community to push it further? So maybe Jessica, if you want to start.
Absolutely. So, proud Hong Kong company, you know, we are very focused on doing two things. One is about entrepreneurial education, and that starts at all levels, whether it's in events organized such as this, or whether it is at universities or mentorship programs, hiring new staff and trying to nurture the concept of entrepreneurship. Doesn't have to be in FinTech, it can be in anything. But I think we're encouraging everyone to build and to try something different, think outside of the box. So that's the first bucket. And then the second bucket is really in the area which we're very passionate about, which when we brought to Hong Kong in 2013 was FinTech. You know, what is FinTech? What is TechFin? How do we work with different organizations like the FTAHK, which is the FinTech Association of Hong Kong, where, you know, we're a founding board member, we do a lot of stuff for them. A number of different societies like Invest Hong Kong, and all the names that you see that are around here, you know, very much involved in terms of trying to build this ecosystem in Hong Kong. And, you know, we encourage everyone to participate in that, and also, you know, come talk to us, come reach out to different participants here, but that's very important for this to continue to develop. And more importantly, I think, in terms of how we're giving back and how we're contributing is, when you think about education, it's not just about the students. One thing that we do is we actually provide a B2B service to other banks and financial institutions. So we're not being selfish. We built the technology, but what we want to do is, how can we work with you, an established bank, and provide you with our technology so you can actually serve a much wider audience? So I think it's about what we've done and how we're sharing that with a much wider scope.
Yeah, I think in a very practical sense, the best thing we can do for the ecosystem is to succeed. Because when you show like what is possible, then other people start to dream, right? So I think the biggest impact we can have is to continue to model like and push forward against all odds. And I think a lot of the earlier companies to Hong Kong, they're actually pushing a lot against a lot of forces that there's not a lot of tailwind in Hong Kong. It's a small market. Maybe it's a conservative market when it comes to taking risks, etc. So I think at a very high level, the best thing we can do is keep pushing the limits of what seems possible, because hopefully we can inspire people this way. But in a very pragmatic sense, I mean, as far as getting involved in the community, we set up monthly volunteer events. Last weekend we did something with soap cycling. You know, we try to get our team together. It's just team building, but also giving back. For me personally, I actually like to get involved in the schooling systems, particularly at the university level, to show people like, hey, there's alternative career paths that are just as like acceptable and rewarding as maybe what they traditionally thought. So I'm actually a mentor at HKU's MBA program as well as CityU's, and I'm working with CH UK on one of their courses on leadership and strategy. So I think in these very intimate conversations, you can start to open people's minds to what is possible, and then they can actually choose for themselves what they want to do.
A quick one. When we first launched 3 years ago, our tagline is "Step Forward." We wanted to change people's life by asking them, first of all, you have to step forward. Yeah? Either you are the user or merchant. And last year, we changed the tagline. Make your life easier. TNG makes your life easier. Why so? Because this is the same phrase keep coming out from our user. They left a lot, tens of thousands of messages and keep thanking us. Thank you, TNG. You make our life easier. And after seeing and reading enough, we said, well, we might as well adopt making people's life easier as our way in giving back to the society and to our user. It's not about making money for sake. It's focused, first of all, company like us, we have to focus on compliance, meeting all the regulatory compliance first. Making money is not a concern to them. After we met that, the second is how do we serve our clients well, and how do we give back to them. I think last year, early last year, in December, the year before, during Christmas time is the largest festivals for Filipino market. One example. And the trusted travel agency ran away with the money. They were crying and it was in the news. Everybody, paid pity to them. But none of them stepped out and actually give money to them. We were the only company that distribute 1,000 Hong Kong dollars cash to each and everyone, as long as they show the receipt that they've been cheated. They bought the ticket from this travel agent, and we, without question asked, we just keep on distributing money to them. We donated close to $500,000 Hong Kong, just like that. Never asked for anything in return. But in return, we keep seeing the comment from the user saying, TNG makes money, they're conducting business, but they do business with a heart. And I think that is what money can buy. You can spend a lot of money in advertising, marketing, but it is, if you serve them from your heart, they know. And they said they feel so proud to be a TNG user. So this is one example, and we make our, I don't say it's a vision or mission, but our passion by giving back to the society, by solving the day-to-day problems, and we're doing well.
Yeah, passion is key. This one, I couldn't agree more. Thank you very much. So money is not everything, but when we are talking about, startups, unicorns, and we were, Karina was pointing out one of the few records that Hong Kong holds, and obviously TNG managed to raise one of the biggest FinTech Series A in the world. And this is not, it's really raising the bar, like when you say Series A is that big, which is usually more than 2 to 3 million US, it's really big. But the question that I get all the time is, when you're starting, before you can actually prove, because, now we know you're big, it works, but when you started, what did it take to actually go and through this first fundraising, how many investors did your company actually go to manage to raise that fund, and the energy it took? So Alex, maybe you can share first.
Terrible experience. Terrible experience. My experience in the short sentence is, before we launched, the investor we met, they said, you haven't launched. Once we launched, they said, you haven't got the license. Once we got the license, they said, you got no profit. Now that we have profit, they said, you are too late stage for us. It's just never enough. And for the first 17 months when we launched our service, our growth is more than 100% monthly compounding growth. And many of the investors spend 7-9 months studying our business and keep questioning us. They said, can't be, impossible. You are too good to be true. We invite them to come to our office Saturday, Sunday. Look at the queue. How many thousand people queuing, coming to open bank account with us? And number cannot lie. You just see it for yourself. But you just keep on arguing. At first, we grow very fast because we didn't charge. So we figured if we were to launch our service, instead of spending money in advertising and marketing, who ends up to be our early investor? They were our business partner. They were our big company lawyers who were helping us drafting the agreement. So they can see how well we grow. They see from the inside as an insider. So they came to us and said, can I invest in you? Our audit firm couldn't, the partners couldn't invest because there's a code of conduct, conflict of interest. They keep, every time they tell me, too bad they cannot, the company don't allow them to invest. But corporate lawyer, they're allowed to invest. So that's what the story of our early days. And until we hit the profit, only then we managed to raise our Series A. It wasn't easy at all.
So you definitely find a few angels that knew you well to really back you up.
I guess when you were small, especially as a startup, don't be greedy. Don't go after the well-known investor, because very few people have the luck, I wouldn't say luck, the opportunity like what WeLab has. They have done a fantastic job in landing all the blue chip investor. But for most companies out there, simply you may not have the right connection or luck. So you don't need to be greedy. Focus on your friends and family, your business partner, who you deal with, and they trust you and you have relationship with, you don't care about how much money you can raise. Just take it a little bit at a time and continue focus to grow the business first. And sometimes when I read about ABC, XYZ company raise tens of millions, hundreds of millions from this well-known investor, I also get ask myself, why can't we do that? Right? It seems like so easy. Actually, the real fact is, it's not easy. We just need to stir what we have and look at what's in front of us. We all have 24 hours a day. How we allocate ourselves? Should we allocate our time to raise money or allocate our time to do the business and do it great? So you need to strike a balance there.
Blake, I remember, when you guys were starting and we were organizing really small job fairs and you were there and, then really scale and grew. So maybe you can share a little bit more about your story there too.
Yeah, I always said I would never go into sales, and then I had to fundraise, yeah? I think terrible is probably the right word for most of us in this experience. I remember, I didn't know what I was doing. I'd never fundraised for a company before, but I knew that, we were growing fast and we could use some capital that would, help get us to the next level. And so I literally email anybody. I'm like, you work at a bank. Do you know someone who has money? This is how it went. Or and then you finally get some meetings set up and you go to Singapore and you go to Raffles Place and you can meet 30 investors in, 5 hours because they're all right next to each other. And it's literally just door after door closes on you. And I think for me, personally, this is the time where I really had to convince myself that I wasn't a failure, and just keep going out there, because I knew what we were doing was making a difference and that there was potential here. But it was really, really hard to get rejected so many times. I don't know how to explain it to you're creating value every single day and have everybody say no. So when we got our first Hong Kong investor on board, institutional, even though it was our Series A, MindWorks, who is now a pretty well-known VC here in Hong Kong, they have been all-stars for us because they actually came to us and emailed us because they were actually a startup at the same time as a VC. So we found that our interests and value systems align. So when he says look for the investors that understand you, I think that's really, really important, because you can go into this desperation mode at the beginning where you get rejected, you just want somebody to say yes, but we were really, really fortunate to find investors, and still to this date we find investors that have the same value structure as us. So we know that they have our backs, but man, that process, early stage fundraising, I don't want to do it again.
One more to add. I remember early days, I signed on because financial advisor. We knocked on more than 200 doors. And we got rejected each and every time. And the lesson learned is, I find the Asian are very polite. It's easier not to say yes than say no. And it's easier not to say anything than say yes. It's easier not to say anything yes. No, it's the other way around.
It's easier not to say anything than to say no.
Correct. And they just keep quiet, and you keep having this small hope. Yeah, you cling on to this small hope, day and night, 24 hours a day. That is it's hard feeling. And after 200 over rejection, and he was very amazed. He asked me, he said, Alex, each and every time you walk into the door, you know they're gonna say no to you. But why are you still so confident? I said, if I can't convince myself, how am I going to convince others? And that has been the same feeling and phrase I share with my colleague every now and then. When we face challenges, when we face rejection, I tell them, 做好自己. Focus on what we do and do well. And forget about what other people tell you, especially negative comment. You take it, you analyze it, and you focus solving your problems. And you will go through that.
Definitely. Jessica, do you want to share a little bit more about WeLab's story as well?
Common themes: persistence, thick skin, or the ability to be able to take rejection. I think these are very common themes, and it's really, really hard. Okay, so I would probably add traumatizing into that whole experience, and that doesn't change from when you're looking for your angel or your seed investors, or to when you're a much larger organization. Because I tell you, along the way, when you're starting up, you have the issues of you're going to angel type investors who are used to pre-revenue companies or companies that haven't made profit or haven't really, got that many customers yet. But as you progress, you're going to go to a different set of investors, right? Who typically look at Series A investments or Series B investments or late stage investments. At every stage, the mark for what they want from you will be more than what you have to offer, right? And then when you're at Series B and you go to a seed investor, they're like, oh, you've passed your time. So the timing will never be right. You will always be rejected for some reason or another because you're never going to be perfect. That's just life. So I guess one thing I would say is be very, very persistent, but be smart. And so this is where data analytics comes into play, right? 200 meetings, right? You're probably going to get rejected by, 199, 98, and we've been through all this as well, right? But how can you be smart about this? Which is a mental trick that someone very wise taught me once. If anyone watches basketball, a three-throw percentage, if you're anything sort of short of 85-ish, you're not very good, right? Professional players should be 80-something, 90-something if you're brilliant, like James Harden. Okay, now, think baseball. If your batting average is in the 30s, you're amazing. So what you need to do is recalibrate what the norm is in terms of rejection rate. So maybe 10 rejections out of 200, 10 success cases out of 200 is great. Maybe 2 success cases out of 200 is great. So what you need to do is change it from what you think on a normal day-to-day basis in terms of what the norm for rejection should be, and you just need to recalibrate that. Now, it's tough. It's really, really tough, so you gotta be really strong on that point there, but from every rejection, you learn something. I agree with Alex in the sense that Asian people aren't so straightforward to tell you what they didn't like about you, but if you can get that feedback, it is very, very helpful to know. However, having said that, just because, Blake gave me a piece of feedback or Karen gave me a piece of feedback, you need to collect a much bigger sample size and also trust yourself to say, just because you said that doesn't definitively mean that is the reason why our company is or isn't good. So I would say take a lot of feedback in, think about it like data points, okay? But you also need to apply the judgment of your own self and your own belief in your own company. So we always said it's human-led but machine-assisted in terms of what we do. So that includes the fundraising, the logic that you put into there, as well as into your business. So a bit of emotion, a bit of heart, but also use a bit of data, think about it. But I agree, it's terrible. It's traumatizing.
So traumatizing experience, but obviously they are still there and they did more than one fundraising, so they didn't get desperate. So the thing would be to trust in yourself. And that's why they say it's hard, because actually they didn't go to investors that were entrepreneurs. When you're talking to investors that are entrepreneurs, they understand what you're going through and what your company is going through. And that's why, now with these, big startups that are turning into companies, because you guys are not startups anymore, we really count on you, to support this whole community, to give, this passion, this persistence to every entrepreneur. So that led me to the last part of the panel, and I would love to have very short answer, like one word from you on a few questions, okay? So be ready. Jessica will go first. Can you give me one word to describe Hong Kong?
Fast-paced.
Blake.
I have more than one word.
Go for two.
On the edge of something great.
Alex?
Shaolin Temple.
Okay. And today we also have a lot of students. So, what advice would you give them in terms of what to study or maybe not to study? Alex, we'll start from you.
Learn something new every day and just keep on learning.
Blake.
You need to study the bad and the good. So just study as much as you need to know, especially when you are inexperienced.
Blake.
Similar, I would say just try a lot of things when you're young.
Jessica?
Take a risk. Take risks. especially when you're uncomfortable with something. Challenge yourself to do one thing that's uncomfortable every month. You know, I used to tell myself I'm at a cocktail party, I need to collect X number of name cards. It's painful. Force yourself, you gotta set some goals. If it helps, find a mentor, find a buddy where you guys are gonna be accountable to each other. But take some risks and challenge yourself. You never know. You never know what you're capable of. Or you may know that it's true, I'm really bad at certain things, but give it a go.
Okay, so we heard about, you know, all the pain and everything, but you know as well at WHub we are full of passion and definitely of startup passion. So, you know, what does it take for you, this one word as this entrepreneur and core team, because it's not only about the entrepreneur, but about all his team, that you need to have, you know, to go further, to have this, you know, one step forward. Jessica.
Trust. You need to empower others and trust them, but you also need to win their trust. So there's no I in team. I believe in that, and we're very passionate about that. And I'm not the entrepreneur, but I believe in what we do as a team together, and that's extremely, extremely important.
Like,
lead by example.
Build the DNA for change, because if you don't obsolete yourself, your competitors will obsolete you. So our organization has the DNA that we make small improvement every week. We discuss what happened last week, how to improve, things that we can do in this week, and let's improve that small things. So keep changing, keep learning, and change is the only constant.
thank you. I want you all to give a big round of applause to all our panelists.